Hello everyone, welcome to Homework Help. If you find the videos useful, please subscribe to the channel. So in this video, we'll solve this problem using the concepts of vectors as forces. So as per the problem, three forces, each having a magnitude of 1 Newton, are arranged to produce equilibrium. So in part A, we have to draw a sketch showing an arrangement of these forces and demonstrate that the angle between the resultant and each of the other two forces is 60 degrees. So let's start with part A. So let's assume these three given forces are represented by vectors F1, F2 and F3. Now each of them has a magnitude of 1 Newton. That means now we have to show the arrangement of these three forces. Now the resultant of vectors can be found by adding the vectors. So our equation for the resultant will be now as per the problem, these forces are arranged to produce equilibrium. If forces are in equilibrium, that means the sum should be equal to 0. That means the resultant of these three forces should be equal to 0. If we arrange these three vectors F1, F2 and F3 in tip to tail or head to tail arrangement, they will form a triangle because their resultant is equal to 0. So we can show the arrangement like this. So there is a very important concept we need to understand and memorize about forces in equilibrium. So we are done with the first part of part A. Now we have to demonstrate that the angle between the resultant and each of the other two forces is 60 degrees. If we want to show the resultant for vectors F1 and F2, the resultant will be represented by the third side in this triangle. So we can show it like this. So the third side in this triangle will represent the resultant of these two vectors. So there's a very important concept we need to understand and memorize. Now we have to demonstrate that the angle between the resultant and each of the other two forces is 60 degrees. Now since the magnitude of all of these forces or the side lengths is equal to 1, that means this triangle is a equilateral triangle. Therefore all angles in this triangle are equal to 60 degrees. So we can see that there is the angle between the resultant and F1 is 60 degrees and the angle between resultant in F2 is also equal to 60 degrees. And we can show the same for other pairs of forces like F1 and F3 and the resultant, and F2, F3 and their resultant. So that means the angle between the resultant and each of the other two forces is 60 degrees for all possible arrangements. So we are done with part A. Now we can analyze part B. Explain how to determine the angle between the equilibrant and the other two vectors. Now, equilibrant vector is a vector that's equal in magnitude to the resultant vector but is opposite in direction to the resultant vector. Now, the angle between the resultant and the other two vectors is 60 degrees. So to find the angle between the equilibrant and the other two forces, we should subtract 60 degrees from 180 degrees because the equilibrant and resultant vectors are opposite to each other and angle between opposite vectors is 180 degrees. So the angle between the equilibrant and the other two vectors will be 120 degrees. So there is a very important concept we need to understand and memorize for equilibrant and resultant. So these are the steps you have to keep in mind to solve a problem like this one. So I hope you'll find this video useful. Please share it, like it and subscribe to Homework Help. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.